It's the What a Weird Week podcast for Friday, March 31st, 2023. Giant gold nuggets, and swimming pool spiders.
Hi, everybody, it's Weird.
This is like crazy being here.
Really weird tales.
Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff.
Thanks for coming back to the What a Weird Week podcast. Appreciate that. This week's top 10 of weird includes the longest bar in the world and the longest charcuterie board. If you're new here, every Friday we do a Weird News of the Week top 10 audio podcast. We follow it up with a blog that has all the show notes and a YouTube video, a video podcast. So if you want all of that, shownotes.page is the easiest thing to remember. Shownotes.page, or just check the link in the show notes.
10.
All right, here we go. Season 4, episode 27. Lead story. Number 10 story. The Colorado man who is the oldest person to cross the Grand Canyon just got in the record books, 91 years old. It's around 24 miles to hike from one edge of the Grand Canyon down through to the other edge. Took about 5 days, 91 years old. There are a lot of world records. As you get older, you should start leafing through that Guinness Book of World Records. Check your age and then see, because as you get older, the world is your oyster when it comes to old people world records, like this one. Even if you're in your 80s, you've got a lot of lead time to prepare for this being the oldest person to cross the Grand Canyon. All you got to do, pick out your outfit, get some comfortable shoes, and play the waiting game, make it to 92 years old. And then you're in, baby.
9.
I find you're in is one of those phrases that I can't help it. I always finish with baby. You're in, baby. I mean, sometimes I'm talking to a baby and it makes perfect sense, but a lot of times it doesn't.
9.
Number 9, how many drinks can the longest bar in the world hold? I crunched some numbers for you guys. A distillery in Tennessee broke the record for the longest bar in the world, 518 feet. If you lined up shot glasses on that bar, based on my calculations, the average shot glass size, I think you can fit more than 3,000 shot glasses along that bar. If you don't have a chance to see the video, I will describe the bar for you. It's quite lovely. You know, a lot of craftsmanship went into it. It's not one long straight bar. It's a long and winding bar with a bunch of twists and turns, not unlike life.
8.
How fast is world record fast when it comes to solving those Rubik's Cubes? I could never solve one, even when all my friends were taking their Rubik's Cube apart and putting it back together, solved. I couldn't even do that. I took it apart and it was garbage at that point. The world record belongs to a 9-year-old child from China who broke a Guinness World Record for fast Rubik's Cubitology, solved the cube a bunch of times, and then they took the average, which was 4.69 seconds. Under 5 seconds. And the video is quite fascinating. If you have a chance to click the show notes, cards on the table. I do make 1/98th of a cent if you do click that, but you don't have to. Let me describe it for you. The 9-year-old is allowed to look at the Rubik's Cube for a moment and I guess solve it in his head, because then you put your hands down on the table, they say go, and then you pick up that cube and you just start solving. 5 seconds, you guys. Like, I've spent longer than 5 seconds trying to figure out how to unwrap a pack of gum. So, well done.
7.
Very large cake ball sets world record. Also, what is a cake ball? Cake ball. I was shocked to learn about a dessert I had never heard of before. Cake balls are what I would call cake pops. Around here, I don't think I've ever heard them called cake balls, but Scooter's Coffee, a chain out of Nebraska, has made an enormous ball of cake. Are you ready for this? It weighs 848 pounds. 848-pound cake ball. Sweet mama Adalucci. That's what I'm talking about. If this is my introduction to cake balls, yes, please. More of this, please. The biggest cake ball in the known universe, 848 pounds. And by the way, I put a link to, I had never heard, I grew up in Tim Hortons country. Never heard of Scooter's Coffee, a chain in the United States, but their social media is pretty funny, some of the stuff they post. So I put a link to that in the show notes too.
6,
Number 6 is a follow-up to the book thief story. We talked about this crime when the story first broke. This person was conning famous authors to get manuscripts of books that weren't published yet. A 30-year-old fellow has been sentenced to time served after pleading guilty to one count of wire fraud. None of these manuscripts were leaked. None of them were sold on the dark web or anything like that. It's an unusual case. Over 1,000 manuscripts were involved in this scheme. The guy just liked reading these manuscripts before anyone else. Got a charge out of the weird not-for-profit con. But how did he do it? Pretty straightforward. He just pretended to be some kind of publishing bigwig, and then apparently if you know the right words and who to email, they'll send you their bestsellers.
5,
Number 5 is the secret bathroom. A British lady made the news. She was renovating her bathroom, and while investigating a leaky shower, discovered a whole other shower behind her present shower. There's a second shower with a tiled wall and even a mirror back there. Who does that? Who decided, before this lady came along, somebody decided instead of replacing their existing shower, they would just put a new wall up and start all over. Just a fresh start with a new shower in front of the other shower. That's weird. This lady is quite popular on social media. We do have some photos and stuff. If you click the show notes or shownotes.page, we'll get you back to all of that.
4,
How big is the biggest charcuterie board in the world? Kids from a high school in California broke the world record for a charcuterie board that is over 204 feet long. That's a lot of salted meats and cheese, you guys. They used recycled, this is kind of a neat twist to it. They used recycled gym bleachers to make it, and they had over 500 pounds of delicious meats and cheese, also nuts, dried fruits, olives, and some other things on the charcuterie board. If you want to see a photo, click the show notes.
3,
Woolly Mammoth meatballs, number 3 story. In case you missed it, this story was in a lot of newscasts and on late night shows. They have grown woolly mammoth meat in a lab, and they made a meatball out of it. That was all over the news this past week. A mastodon meatball, you guys. You cannot buy these yet. It's more of a proof of concept for lab-grown meats. We've heard of lab-grown, even in this podcast, I think we've had a couple of times we talked about lab-grown meat. Did you ever think, though, we might someday be able to eat extinct meat? Dinosaur meat can't be that far off, you guys. Is this going to solve world hunger? I'm kind of excited about the idea of world hunger not being a thing anymore, but there's a chance it'll just be something else for rich people. Rich people go out and eat T-Rex burgers or something like that. I don't want to be so jaded, but possibility.
2,
Now all I want is a T-Rex burger, you guys. I'm so hungry.
2,
Number 2 is another week, another ping pong ball world record attempt. This one, though, has me furious. Elite athletes, you guys. They can break world records that the rest of us weirdos could never do. That's why I'm so enraged at these Harlem Globetrotters. They could have broken any basketball-related world record in the book. A number of athletic world records could have been beaten by these elite Harlem Globetrotters athletes. But instead, they broke the Guinness World Record for beer pong. Essentially, it was beer pong. The quote is, fastest time to bounce a ping pong ball into 5 cups. That's the official name. We all know it as beer pong. I mean, Harlem Globetrotters, couldn't you leave the beer pong record attempts to us non-famous, barely able to walk up the stairs normal people? You took this one away from us. Honorable mention. Just a quick nightmare alert. Spiders, you guys. And Hannah Osborne, writing for Live Science, gets the headline of the week award for this one. Deadly spiders that can kill in minutes and survive underwater are hiding out in swimming pools. That's one heck of a headline, Hannah. Well done. And very terrifying. In Australia, people are finding scary and dangerous spiders in their swimming pools. This is weather related. They've had heavy rain in Australia, washing the spiders into pools. So I'm going to pass on the pool party till further notice. I will not be able to get that out of my head. Jumping into a swimming pool and wondering what lies beneath.
1,
Just to be clear, I'm not a fan of the spider, but I realize they have a job to do. And that job is terrify all of us.
1,
All right, number 1, gold nuggets are still a thing you can find and strike it rich. An amateur gold finding digger-upper in Australia found a great big nugget worth 240,000 Australian dollars, found in an area known as the Golden Triangle. The rock weighed about 10 pounds. The gold in the rock, about 5.5 pounds of that 10-pound rock. We have a photo in the show notes. It's quite large, you guys. But this is when I realized I have no idea how much gold is worth, because I would have thought 5 pounds of gold, you'd be a gazillionaire. You'd be able to own Australia. But my math was wrong there, 240,000 Australian dollars. If you want to see that or any of the stuff we talked about, click the show notes, or if that's non-possible, go to shownotes.page and you can find your way to the show notes blog. So that is that. I just wanted to say thanks for listening and subscribing, liking, recommending to your friends, recommending to your enemies, and also at least 3 random strangers this week. If you could just pick 3 people off the street and recommend the podcast to them, I would be greatly appreciative.